I went to the store and I bought a rotisserie chicken. It just makes it easier. And I put the whole thing in a pot of just water. And I'm going to let that get boiling and use that as my broth along with one chicken broth that I bought. And then I'll tear the chicken off of the bone and put it back in the broth after I've cooked the noodles in that broth. I've taken the chicken out of the broth. I just used a pair of tongs, and then I put in a stick of butter, and I put in 3 chicken bouillon cubes. You don't necessarily need the bouillon cubes, but I like it just for extra flavor. My broth's ready. If you'll remember, I filled this pot about half full of water, and I added 1 can of chicken broth, 3 chicken bouillon cubes, and a stick of butter. And now that's kind of up to speed. And I took the chicken out and I took all the meat off, and I came up with about that much meat. Okay, I have 3 eggs in my bowl, and now I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of water. That just helps to make them beat up smoother and nicer. Make it so that there's no runny part left. No, none of the whites are all beat in real good. 2 cups of Bisquick, and stir that up real good. Make sure you get all the dry incorporated. Be fine. Still very moist. So you need to get some Bisquick. Okay, just put a lot of flour out on your countertop. I use parchment paper to keep it clean. These are awfully moist. Now just start kneading it, mixing the other flour into it. It's still sticking to my hand, so I need to add more flour. About 1/3, just to make it easier to work with. Set those aside. Make sure you got plenty of flour on it. Roll this out. And the thinner that you can get it, the better. It's getting really thin now, so we're just about ready. Make it into noodles. Plenty of flour. If you want a long noodle, cut across the roll, and you'll get nice long noodles. I prefer smaller noodles. See how those are much smaller when you cut them at an angle. Just take these, kind of sprinkle them out, make sure they're separated. Some directions I've seen say dry them for at least 6 hours. But I never have time to do that. I'm even going to add more flour to them. Now just take the noodles you just made and put them into a bowl to set aside until you get the other 2 balls cut up. Just make sure you have lots of flour in it. Okay, now I'm ready to do a second ball. Okay, so now I'm ready to add the, I've divided the noodles into half so that I can freeze this half. But I'm going to drop these gingerly into the broth. Make sure they don't clump together. Make sure you've got lots of flour in it. See all that flour? That'll make a nice thick broth for you. Now these are going to cook for about 10 minutes. I've got lots of flour there that I'm picking up with those noodles. The rest of the flour. Oh, and I added a little salt too, so you can salt it to your taste. Now these are going to cook for maybe 10 minutes. Okay, these have cooked for probably about 20 minutes. I think they were done at 10, but they were on for 20 because I got sidetracked. So now I'm adding in the cream of chicken soup with a little bit of water or to thin it. Actually, I think I used a little bit of the broth. And I beat it up until it was real smooth. Okay, now we're just going to mix that in. See how nice and creamy that is with all the flour and butter. Now I'm going to put in the chicken that I cut up. Remember, I didn't even have to cook my chicken. I bought it at the store, a broiler chicken that they'd already cooked. And it didn't have much seasoning to it. If you want, you can just use regular chicken breast frozen and cook them yourself, or leftover chicken, or whatever you want to add to it. Okay, now we're ready to eat with corn on the cob. Doesn't that look good? Okay.